Hey guys, what's up? Excoundrel here, and today we're going to cover something a little bit different. I was having a conversation with a friend at the weekend talking about how many games have really struggled to lift off the ground in 2018. And I decided it would be fun to go through some of the more recognizable games from this year, be it from streams, be it from YouTube videos, and talk about the ones that just didn't make it. Yes, this is a top 10 of failed games, and starting in at number 10 is Earthfull Invasion. Now, I won't blame you if you've never heard of this game. It is essentially an alien version of Left 4 Dead, trying to replicate some of the original success that Valve's amazing title had. Unfortunately, they were around 6 years too late. It didn't really bring anything new to the table in terms of formula, and a lot of people even went as far to say as it felt like a reskinned Left 4 Dead 2. So much so that people said the aliens were just reskinned zombies, and even the special types bore a striking resemblance to their undead counterparts. Let's not be completely unfair to Earthfull, it did add some new things. It had out-of-game character leveling, you could get outfits, charms, even skills that you could use in these particular games. So it added RPG elements that Left 4 Dead 2 didn't bring. But the very core problem is that the player base, even with the Invasion update, didn't pick up to the same extent that Left 4 Dead 2 ever did. And therefore, a game where the core experience is a multiplayer game, not having the player base to sustain that, meant, unfortunately, it was going to die a very swift death. The next game is very, very close to my heart, and it is a game called Realm Royale. I loved the original Battlefield. I think I could play that game for years to come, but it never found the widespread success that I think that it deserved. Now, I could do a whole video as to why it is difficult to make a competitive multiplayer game be a success in the current gaming climate. A lot of it comes down to the fact that despite the gaming industry growing at incredible levels, it is not free real estate. In fact, so many people have invested time and money into free-to-play games like League of Legends and Dota 2 that to get them to essentially give that up for a new game is getting them to give up potentially thousands of pounds and thousands of hours worth of their time when they feel like they've already invested that into another game. And so, Battlefield never really took off. And unfortunately as such, Realm Royale suffered with the same thing. They didn't generate enough new player interest to make it a sustainable game in its own right, and it really split the existing user base of Battlefield, some people calling it a Battle Royale genre rush, and really just a betrayal to the original Battlefield players. Unfortunately, it literally was just Battlefield with Battle Royale rules, so it really wasn't adding anything new, and for a whole new price tag, a lot of people said it wasn't worth it. You could just play Battlefield and get a very similar experience, which I do actually agree with. I loved the original Battlefield, but honestly, Battlefield Royale, all it changed was the fact that you had to find your skills and you got pulled into a closer zone, but Battlefield kind of offered a similar experience in just the original format. So for me, the game was a little bit weird and honestly did feel like that cash grab for the Battle Royale genre. The next game that you probably will have never heard of is the Darwin Project. This was a game that was a bit of a love letter to the Hunger Games. It was a battle royale to an extent where you had to hunt each other, you find resources, you build things, you get certain tech, and it's all about chasing each other down. The only time this ever really came into the public eye was when people like Soda Poppin and Summit 1G were streaming this through some paid promotions. It actually managed to generate a decent user base at this time, but as is with the case with a lot of influencer marketing, people never really had the continued interest when they couldn't snipe their favorite streamer. So unfortunately, after that initial push with the influencers, it kind of died a very quick death. Which is a shame because it was a unique take on the Battle Royale genre and did offer a lot of new things that made the game interesting. However, it was fairly complex, and if you look at the aesthetic, it was really trying to aesthetically compete with the dominant force of Fortnite, which almost no one this year has been able to topple. All these factors combined together meant the casual user base never stepped up. It wasn't able to convert existing Battle Royale players and didn't generate a new user base to make it worth it. It still has got 200 to 500 players on a 48-hour basis, but that is just not enough to make a core multiplayer game sustainable. The next is a game called Lawbreakers from Boss Key Productions. This was technically released in 2017, but the company chose to cease production on it in 2018 and shut down the servers. It was a very short life cycle. I feel like Lawbreakers really struggled with its identity. It was a very nice looking game that played actually quite well. It was a fast-paced action shooter in arena-based battles where it was a mix between Quake and Overwatch. But I think that was really the problem. It felt like it was supposed to be a love letter to the original Quake series where it was all about gun, skill and fragging, yet you add in these hero abilities to try and make it a cross-hero shooter, which meant that it was competing with the likes of Overwatch. So suddenly you were trying to appeal to the pure gun skill enthusiasts that would like to play something like CSGO or Quake, and then you're also trying to draw your audience from Overwatch, which was already hugely popular and dominant across all platforms. It didn't really bring anything groundbreaking to the genre either. There was nothing to really hook people in, no crazy mechanics, no out-of-game leveling progression systems that really did anything different, and if I'm completely honest, the marketing was heavily criticized. And when I say criticized, that's because there was none. Everybody really criticized Boss Keeper Productions for not doing enough to get this game's name out there. As well as the fact there were some balance issues, a lot of people felt that the gameplay was too fast-paced and unforgiving. It never really found resonance with the casual user base, and as you can see, after Shutdown, there is no one playing. Coming in at number 6 is a game that breaks my heart. Released in 2017 but shut down in 2018, Gigantic was a really unique over-the-shoulder first-person shooter that had a lot of MOBA elements. I loved Gigantic. It had really cool character design, it felt really fun and compelling to play, and honestly it brought a lot of unique takes to the genre that they didn't have before. The art and the aesthetic were very pleasing, it was, in my opinion, very skill-based and had a lot of really fun, unique mechanics to it, but for one reason or another, it never really found casual, widespread success. This could be due to the fact that over-the-shoulder hero shooters or over-the-shoulder MOBAs never really found widespread success, the biggest of which is Smite, and Smite is still the smallest of the MOBAs on the market right now in terms of the widespread popularity. It may also be due to the fact that it really only found that success through some streamers streaming it, and they never really continued with that marketing program. It did feel that Perfect World gave up on this game a little bit too quickly. They essentially released in 2017, and by January 2018 they decided to close the servers down. I don't think they gave this game the chance that it deserved, but the numbers don't lie, and realistically an all-time peak of 8,000 isn't that great. Coming in at number 5 is a game called The Culling 2. Now, I know a lot of you may have played the original Culling, but the Culling 2 kind of went under the radar for a very good reason. The Culling 2 was basically H1Z1, but worse, and more buggy, which is an incredible thing to say. I can't believe I'm saying something is more buggy than H1Z1 out loud, but it was a shameless attempt at ripping off some of the formula that you saw from previous Battle Royale games. This was actually released and was pulled from the market within 2 weeks. It achieved a staggering all-time high player base of 249, which is just insane. Now, honestly, a lot of the criticisms of this game were incredibly fair. You can even just see how much it looks like a ripped-off H1Z1 from the very get-go, including almost looking identical in terms of aesthetic. It also had no elements of the previous Culling, so to call it the Culling 2 was a bit of a misnomer. It completely betrayed the original Culling player base and did what H1Z1 and PUBG did, but worse. This game was awful, and it was very rightly pulled from the shelves within just 2 weeks of launch. They even released a video saying that they made a mistake and they are going to focus on the original Culling, or bringing something that is similar to that style of game. Coming in at number 4 is a game that I do feel sorry for. It is called Islands of Nine. It is a Battle Royale game that technically predates Fortnite, PUBG, H1Z1, and almost every other Battle Royale game on the market. It was formed from a Kickstarter campaign back in 2015, and the expected release and delivery was 2016. Unfortunately, as with all game studios, the game was delayed to such an extent that it didn't actually release on Steam Early Access until 2018. And 2018 is probably the worst year to release a Battle Royale game that doesn't really bring anything new to the table. It is essentially just a standard Battle Royale game with a cool future aesthetic. The gunplay is good, the cosmetic system is awesome, and had this game released earlier, it may have been one of the more prominent Battle Royale games on the market. Unfortunately, due to the time that it released, where Fortnite and PUBG were already dominant, it flopped. And it flopped pretty hard. And as you can see, all the way down from July 2018, we are now at 30 people playing in the last 24 hours. Coming in at number 3 is another special from Boss Key Productions, called Radical Heights. Radical Heights, honestly, achieved most of its notoriety through Dr. Disrespect. They had a character that was pretty much Dr. Disrespect in game, and of course, the Doc, being who he is, really wanted to play. He had a bit of influencing power, and it generated a small amount of interest around what is essentially a reskinned H1Z1. But the fact that it was essentially a reskinned H1Z1 was its downfall in the end. Again, really not providing anything new to the genre. The reason Fortnite was so successful and managed to take away some of the people playing PUBG was that it added new mechanics. It made the Battle Royale genre a little bit more interesting, as well as the fact that it was brightly coloured and appealing to kids who, to be honest, really propped up the majority of Fortnite's success. Radical Heights, however, didn't really do anything that unique, and as you can see, a 12,314 all-time peak dropped off very quickly to a 24-hour peak of a staggering 6. This video probably could have been called the top 10 generic Battle Royale games that failed in 2018. However, we have something new at number 2, and that is Battalion 1944. Battalion 1944 was a game from a Kickstarter campaign that promised to bring the World War II FPS experience to the PC, akin to the original Call of Duty and Day of Defeat. Unfortunately, as with every Kickstarter game development team, there were huge delays, and by the time that it was ready to release, Call of Duty World War II was already there, and the weight of the Call of Duty brand meant that Battalion really didn't get the love that it deserved. There were issues with servers on release, people couldn't find games, there were complaints about weird matchmaking modes, and unfortunately, the game's player base started to decline. The devs also tried to focus on esports, which drew attention away from the game, some negative PR associated with it, and in the end, the player base became non-existent. And a multiplayer game with a non-existent player base is not a game at all. No updates planned until 2019, and unfortunately, I see a very grim future for Battalion 1944. And coming in at number 1 is a game you will have definitely heard of. It is called Realm Royale. Realm Royale was a game released earlier this year, and although it is still in early access, although, let's be honest guys, developers use Steam Early Access as a way to explain bugs, this game generated a huge amount of hype. It was definitely intended to draw interest from the Fortnite crowd with the aesthetics. It had a great class-based system. The gameplay was exciting. You had to get kills to get the most powerful weapons. The Forge system was awesome. But slowly, Hi-Rez decided that it wasn't doing well enough. They had a great marketing campaign. They had influencers playing this game almost every day and seemingly genuinely enjoying it. However, Hi-Rez decided that the game was not enough like Fortnite, and some balance changes that they made really started to anger the community. That, alongside the fact that they spent a ridiculous amount promoting it through esports tournaments that people were only tuning into because of the money and the streamers involved, and once those stopped, the game's interest very quickly died off. The Realm Royale right now is nothing like the game that you may have originally seen. There are no classes, ability slots have been reduced, you can forge legendary weapons without needing to have killed someone, and in general they tried to simplify it too much, and most people that came over to Realm Royale is because they felt it was more complex and compelling than Fortnite originally. Now you can see that although Realm Royale still has a decent amount of players, it is a colossal loss, a 95% loss of its player base over the course of just a few months. That is shattering for the game and makes it one of the biggest flops of 2018. I hope you enjoyed what was essentially which of the worst Battle Royale games of the year. This is a different video that I usually do. I mainly do guides for mobile gaming, but I did feel like doing something more interesting after a conversation with my friend. So I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you soon.